Well, fantastic evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. I am your host. My name is Keith Brugman. I just want to let you know that we're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We have a fantastic sponsor. Check out Cheyenne Frontier Days. Morgan Trinkets up there. Sorry, I got everyone like looking around. I see my co-host getting all dialed in, making sure they're all ready to go, man, because I'm not rolling out here alone. Not only do I have my co-host, I got the posse, I got everybody in the chat. We're coming in live and getting geared up for training camp. But I got to say hello, like I said, to my co-host. I'll say hello to Mile High Dutchie, the one, the only Mile High Dutchie first. How you doing, Albert?
I'm doing excellent. It was a wonderful day here. Not too hot, not too humid, but a really wonderful day. I was able to do some painting on the house, so get it, and we had a really good visit in a Dutch town in Iowa yesterday called Pella.
There you go. Albert, getting everything done, man. Not just Broncos. It's just not all Broncos talk. Sometimes you got to paint the house. Sometimes you do a little traveling. Sometimes you're taking in a bunch of different things. It's summertime, guys. It's time to go out there, have a little bit of fun. I'm glad Albert's able to do that. I know he's been working hard. I know you all been working hard out there. Trevor's been working hard, man. He's been all over the place. K&K, you name it. He's been the podcast master, but the Rocket Man, he's here tonight, man, talking Denver Broncos on the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing great, Keith. Excited to be here and talk a little bit of Denver Broncos news and notes, and kind of first time we've heard from Sean Payton in a while, and excited to kind of dive into that a little bit. I think he was a little on the grumpy side today, but I think we're maybe the Sean Payton be nice days are a little bit behind us, but excited to get into it and can't wait for a great show.
Yeah, I watched the one clip of Sean Payton. I'll be honest, it's been a running day, guys. So I didn't get to all Quinn Miners was up there. I think Brandon Jones went up there as well. So didn't get to all of them, but I did get to see Sean Payton. And all I could think of was SOS, man. Same old Sean, man. Went from being that likable, lovable guy we just saw a few weeks ago to same old Sean. But I'm going to get in here. I see Albert's given the hang loose sign. That tells me that, the posse's hopping. I got to say hello to people, including people who were in here before we even hit the airwaves, guys. Scott comes in here, says, get fired up, Broncos country. I've been preaching that, Scott. It's time, man. It's time to quit licking our wounds. Look forward to the future, man. I'm excited for what's to be for the Denver Broncos. Ernie Mays, always a fantastic supporter, saying go Broncos country only. Hello, Keith and Trevor and Dutchie and hopefully Jody. Yeah, we were hoping that Jody's going to jump in here, and we're hoping still. Well, if he gets in here, you'll see the four horsemen on the screen. That's simple as that. Michael Ronquillo coming in here as well. Ronk, like royalty, Roundup royalty. Been here hanging out with us for so dang long, Michael. Appreciate you so much. Saying good evening, Keith, Albert, and Trevor. Roy's coming in here saying, hello, hey, they're all training camp is here. Yeah, kicks off on Friday. I'm still hopeful. I know that it's getting late in the season, but I'm still hoping that I can maybe hit those joint practice training camps with the Green Bay Packers. That's what I'm aiming for right before the end of training camp. So that being said, man, it's kicking off on Friday, and it's absolutely killing me that I'm not going to be down there opening day training camp. This is the first time in like 3 years that I haven't been there during that time. So it's killing me, Roy. Don't bring it up so much. No, we're going to be talking about it a ton. Like we're talking about Phil that keeps dropping stars left, right, otherwise every single time we see him. Phil, thank you so much. Talking about royalty, Phil has rocketed up to Roundup royalty for sure, man. Appreciate all the support that you've been giving us. We've been talking about how we're going to give back. We are going to give back, and we appreciate everyone that's been giving to us. And Phil, you're in that group as well. Saying good evening, Keith, Rocket Man, and Dutchie. Everyone ready for Friday? Football is just around the corner. Absolutely. Yeah, Friday for you guys. I have to work for the next few days, but Friday is right around the corner, and I'm excited. I'm excited for what training camp is to be. Hopefully we get lots of good, meaty coverage out of there. I'm not expecting it, but I'm hoping. This is where that Hang Loose comes in, saying aloha to Patrick Wiltsey. Graham saying hello as well, saying, hey, fellas, been a podcast-heavy night. Third on the docket. Well, man, talk about devotion. We appreciate you coming in and listening to the third on the docket tonight, Graham. I hope it's a great one for you. I hope that you're love what we have to talk about. And, of course, we love to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So get those questions flowing if you do have any. We do have an agenda. Hopefully you guys read it. And if not, we'll get you up to speed. Big E Bronco, how's everybody doing tonight? Doing fantastic. Graham says, wounds? What wounds? I love it, buddy. James, this is a new name. James Green saying, what's up from Kentucky? Go Broncos. Appreciate it so much. Paul's coming in saying, what's up, guys? Appreciate you, Paul. I'll get to Paul's question in a second as I'm reading it in the background. And I want to get to this. This is a good one because, like I said, Trevor brought it up. I think anybody that watched that little bit of press conference clip, about 15 minutes worth of press conference clip, Sean was feisty, not in a good mood. I was hoping all those golf games he was talking about that he's going to be having on his, during the time off would help him. Maybe his file folder of little projects that he had. Maybe he just had a bad round of golf continuously. I don't know. He came in salty, man. I just thought it was funny, man. What was Trevor? You alluded to it a little bit. What was your reaction? What was going on there, man? I mean, right down to Woody Page getting the I don't even want to talk to you type of situation.
Well, I think he was actually reacting to Cecil Lammy's question on Lucas Kroll, and I can understand why. I kind of been barking up that tree as well. Like, well, he's probably not the best player on this team right now. Let's be honest. Lucas Kroll, as he might be growing as a tight end, and even Sean Payton alluded to this. Is he the best tight end or one of the best players on this team? If there's a difference in there, so I think the eye roll and kind of the sigh was more towards Cecil. I don't think it was towards Woody Page. And I can love Cecil Lammy and everything he brings to the media. And then Sean Payton, you kind of got to like that. You got to laugh at it a little bit, just because again, at Kroll, he has so much more to prove. Maybe he has improved this offseason, but we shall see. That pads haven't been on yet. Last time he was in pads, I mean, he didn't really show out yet, so it's yet to be determined what he's going to bring to the team. And I just think he's been getting a ton of hype, throughout minicamp, and it's like, well, that's great and all, but he's got to go out and prove it. He still has a ton more to prove. I think Sean Payton knows that as well. That's why he came out and said, "Wait a minute, he's not the best player on this team. Let's make that clear." And then with Dulcich, I don't think Sean Payton has given up on Greg Dulcich. Just kind of hearing what he has to say. Yes, he's hyped Kroll up a little bit, but I don't think he's totally given up on Dulcich. I don't know how much that believes he's going to stay healthy, because that's yet to be determined as well. But I think he believes in Greg Dulcich's talent and in Kroll, and then what made the best man win in the tight end room.
Yeah. I think that's he hinted towards, everyone thinks it's down to like two guys once you do your cuts, and then all of a sudden it's some guy off another roster that comes in and gets the job. I don't know if he was alluding to this particular position, but it seemed like it was on the docket at the time. Albert, were you able to see any of Sean Payton's little bit of presser that he did today? I know they were painting houses.
I wasn't able to see it, but I have an idea of what might have happened.
Okay,
First,
but if not, I want to flip to this really quick because I want to get to this question and I want to get to you on this one because I think it's a good one. Paul's coming in on YouTube. Paul's been supporting us fantastic. I want to throw this to you, Albert. He says, "Do you think Payton would put Kroll and Dulcich on the field at the same time? I'm imagining a poor man's Gronk and Hernandez, hopefully with not the same off field issues as as maybe one of those guys had. But what is your thoughts, man? Do you see a Kroll and Dulcich hitting the field at the same time? And if you want to go back and talk a little bit about that press conference, you certainly can. But I'd love for you to answer Paul's question.
I would love to see some 22 action. So two running backs and 2 tight ends in the field. I would love to see that, and that opens up quite a bit of games. A lot of people are already counting Dulcich out, but Dulcich, if he's on the field, he is a weapon, and we have seen it over and over again. And if he's healthy, he is a really, really good weapon. And then put 2 running backs in the backfield.
Oh, my goodness.
You don't know what play you're going to get from Sean Payton at the moment. We have not seen that enough last year, and I would really like to see that. And maybe even a 32. 3 running backs and 2 tight ends.
You got me salivating over here, though, thinking about Audric Estime, Jaleel McLaughlin, Dulcich, and Kroll on the field all at the same time. Because if you don't know, all 4 of those guys can catch. And you still have some great running ability out of those running backs that you're putting back there as well. The biggest thing, obviously, is the blocking ability. And we talked a little bit about that last episode. We were on, Friday. So here we are on Tuesday. I want to get 2 cents from you, Trevor. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, again, the thing is, Gronk was just all around. I think he's more of an all-out, well-rounded tight end. I don't think that that's the case with Dulcich. And I don't think that's the case, with Kroll either. I think they got a lot to prove. I know Paul said poor man's. I just think one of them needs to just emerge. I mean, first and foremost. I mean, before we get hyped up about possibly putting the 2 together, first Dulcich's got to stay healthy and got something to prove, and then Kroll, he just got to prove something. I don't know. I think Sean Payton's offense been more dunk, to the running back kind of type of situation. We've seen that a little bit last year, but Russell Wilson just couldn't do it. And I think here with Bo Nix, he's a quarterback that at Oregon he did that. So I think that you're going to see more one tight end out there on the field because I just don't think Sean Payton's offense usually isn't more of a 2 tight end mix. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I just don't think that's going to be the bread and butter of his offense. And I just think those 2 still have more to prove before we talk about seeing that mixture in there.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, like I said, I love to dream. It's like I don't know, putting together your fantasy team sometimes. It's like if everything worked well, man, this package would be beautiful. It will be interesting to see the next steps. He was asked in his press conference about personnel or what was different this year compared to last year, this being his second year. He said, just coming in, knowing what the personnel, not having to try to figure out personnel kind of on the fly. He even mentioned that, maybe he would have made a few decisions differently, you know what I mean? Having the knowledge that he has now compared to where he was at last year at this time. So that makes me think about roster decisions or maybe at least starter positions and stuff like that, or free agent type of bring-ins. Let's face it, we had a Randy Gregory, not that long ago that we had to get rid of, and stuff like that. It's like, not that was the Sean Payton thing, but again, having to get rid of guys, having to bring things around. It's interesting to try to get into the mind of Sean Payton. One, to get to this one, Big E Broncos in complete agreement with you, Trevor, saying the eye roll was for Cecil. So maybe I read that wrong. Maybe I read it wrong. I wasn't sure, man. It was he was so salty left, right, and otherwise. It's tough to say exactly who he was most upset with. But yeah, I'll default. I'll say it went to Cecil Lammy. Sorry, Cecil, because I love Cecil.
Yeah.
Actually, met Cecil at training camp last year. Was fantastic to me. Gave me advice, talked to me. So Cecil's a great guy. Sean was salty. So
That's usual.
That being said, I do want to get to at least Clayton, who's dropping stars, and get to his comment. No particular question. It says, "Man, we are getting closer and closer to football. Can't wait, my guys. I truly have high expectations for us this year. Let's get it." You know, it's all. I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait for training camp. That's all I'm going to say, man. That's the only thing that I can say is, see these guys actually start to play it out, and hopefully I'll be able to get it in person. If not, then I'll be looking for that preseason and see possibly a little bit. But it all starts in that game one, week one game. You know what I mean? So that's when it all hits hard. You know what I mean? That's when it all matters. So. Let's see what we got here. Scott says maybe Sean is tired of the national media comparing his 2006 to his current record and Broncos rating of 27 or 32. Actually, he talked about that too. He says, I could care less about that stuff. And he was, like I said, salty left, right, and otherwise. But let's get into the meat of it, guys. I understand it was an interesting press conference. We'll get a few more of them. We'll get a better feel, hopefully a happier Sean. And in a happier Sean, he was kind of asked about this as well. Asked about that, the quarterback competition. So let's just dive right into the quarterback competition. I want to get your thoughts, though. Sean Payton's obviously going to be evaluating. He was asked about, a lot of different things of how to evaluate these quarterbacks, when they'll be taking snaps. He got snippy right off the bat about that. But that being said, I'll start with Albert. Albert, if you're Sean Payton, what are you looking at? What are you looking for in order to determine who's your QB1? Who's going to be your starter? What are you looking at?
What I'm looking at is he doesn't have to be consistent yet, because that's what training camp and everything is for. But what I would be looking for is poise. How are they under pressure? And if they are still responding the way I make the decisions the way I want them to need, are they going to stick on the plays that we have scheduled? That is what I would be looking for. Are they switching all of a sudden play because they are now under pressure? We can't have that. We had that too many years going on. We can't have that. So if I can find the quarterback that has the best poise, stays calm, does exactly what he was told to do, that is the quarterback I'm going with.
Very good. Looking for that poise. Looking for that guy that can go out there and command and not see ghosts, not get too worried, and not let the defense dictate to them. Have the poise to dictate the offense to the defense is what I'm kind of hearing there. Trevor, when Sean took that podium, he even made mention that, hey, it's not just Bo Nix that needs to get up to speed on things. It's also, one Zach Wilson. They're both on the exact same page together, trying to learn this at the exact same, from the exact same starting point almost. You know what I mean? They're both on the same page. Almost kind of left Stidham out of the conversation. Don't know if that was, intentional for a reason or not. But that being said, you're Sean Payton. You're out there. You're watching these guys. You're seeing them study. You're seeing them working at first, second, third teams. What are you looking for in order to determine who's your QB1? Who's going to be your quarterback as you head into Seattle?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things you got to look at with any quarterback, but in particular, I think with Bo Nix, because I think he's still the favorite to start, in my opinion. And again, Sean Payton's not going to come out and say it yet, but I do think when we get down to it that Bo Nix will be the guy. First, one of the first things and most important things, I think, in particular with Sean Payton, it's process information. Remember, he talked about this and used this very word, processing, throughout the draft when he was looking for in a quarterback, how you process information. I think that's one of the things that Russell Wilson struggled with last year that really kind of drove Sean Payton crazy, was not just, Russell Wilson holding on the ball too long or not being accurate and not the amount of sacks he taken. I mean, again, that was part of it, but I think that it's also about the retaining information, learning stuff quickly. One thing Sean Payton noted today about Bo Nix in particular, again, it's interesting every single time. It seems like he's talking about Bo Nix, praising Bo Nix one point or the other. He talked about how, his ability to learn information quickly. And he said he has no worry about Bo Nix being able to retain information quickly. And so for me, that's most important, I think, in particular with Sean Payton, of many things, is processing information in and out of the huddle. Of course, you're looking for accuracy. Leader of the offense, I think your quarterback has to be the leader of the offense under center. I don't think you can not have your leader be your quarterback and be successful. Getting the ball out quickly, which is something Russell Wilson struggled with last year. Seeing the field a little bit more. Russell Wilson loved to play around in the pocket a little bit too much and get sacked. That didn't help the offensive line out one bit. And then again, strong arm, and I say that in particular because not saying Jarrett Stidham doesn't have a strong arm, but we can't be dunking the ball off to the running back all the time. At some point in time, the defense is going to adjust to that, and you're going to have to take the top off the defense at some point in time. So you want a quarterback that is ready to be out there and that can have the ability to do so. I think Bo Nix has that ability to do so. I know that was some of the question marks with him during the draft process. I do think Bo Nix can be that guy that can dunk it off to the running back if you need to, gets the ball out quickly, processes information quickly, but can also throw the deep ball and throw accurately and throw over the middle. So I just think Bo Nix, he just fits Sean Payton's offense so, I think, good, and this is why I had Bo Nix mocked to the drafts back during draft season. But I think these are, one of my list of many qualities that I would also be looking for in a quarterback just in general. But I think Bo Nix fills those needs for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on many pieces there. I think the thing I love about Bo Nix is that he not only was able, I know that he didn't have the best success, but he went to Auburn and he was named the starter and he took the helm and he learned an offense, and then he had to pick up and he had to move, and he went off to Oregon and he had to learn a completely different offense, and he had to take that helm, and it's a top program, and he was able to do that. And his ability to learn and retain the information, as Graham's saying, playbook retention here is really big. Paul was pointing out, as Albert was talking a little bit earlier, that Stidham was not good under pressure, looking for that poise. But a guy that can go in there, learn that playbook, and learn Sean Payton's playbook. The nice thing about having the rookie is that hopefully everything's on the table, right? He's not too old. He doesn't have that injury. It's not like he's already got so trained into his habits. You know what I mean? Try to get a Ryan Tannehill to come in here and change his game. It's going to be pretty difficult. You got to play to Ryan Tannehill at that point, right? Bo Nix should be able to come in here and play to Sean Payton's offense. So being able to do everything that Sean Payton would like a quarterback to do will be key for any of these guys. Again, it doesn't matter. Russell Wilson, a possible Pro Bowler or possibly Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner, Pro Bowler, could not do what Sean Payton needed him to do. So it's not for everybody. It's not, a one-size-fits-all type of situation. I like the idea of bringing in a rookie, and a rookie like Bo Nix, in order to be able to process this information, put those tools onto the field and be able to execute what Sean Payton's wanting to do. Again, Zach Wilson is a fantastic athlete, I believe. He's got a phenomenal arm. He does have some escapability, but it'll be how quickly he can rebuild himself, quite honestly, after going out to New York and everything that's happened there. And Jarrett Stidham, I'm not going to rule Jarrett Stidham out of this conversation. Jarrett Stidham only has 4 NFL starts. So if you want to go ahead and already put a guy, on the chopping block after 4 NFL starts, that's pretty harsh. That's pretty harsh. This guy has not been given every single opportunity. If he's given a strong opportunity, I think that he could be that guy as well. And it's going to drive Broncos country crazy if that would happens to be the case.
That would be scary if that ended up being the case, because again, you would have to retain Stidham after that because he is a free agent and you have Bo Nix on that rookie deal. So I fully believe the Broncos eventually, and maybe Stidham starts out this season. I hope not, but maybe he does. I fully expect the Broncos to get behind Bo Nix and do whatever they can to make sure that he's the starter and give him all the right opportunity to do so. I don't want them to, the uncertainty of quarterback position, I think, is something that Broncos country is just tired of, frankly, and so am I. I mean, just over the years of the team, and I know you and Dutchy are probably too, just that not having that guy in place already. Other than Russell Wilson, it's been kind of a guessing game of who's going to be the guy, and depending on the coach, that's why I think everybody wants the starter to be named now. I'm not ready to panic just yet to have the starter named now, but I do think as time goes on, well before I think your first preseason game, or even maybe I would say, well, I'll backtrack on that. I'll say I think Sean Payton may give Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham each one game in preseason to see what they got. But I think he has to narrow down the quarterback competition to at least 2 names. I don't think you can have 3 guys still be in this quarterback competition, in my opinion, going forward. Just because I just think you're going to be behind the 8 ball if you continue to do so. You have to name 2 guys, go with forward, or just name 1. But having 3 go up, and compete against each other going into the preseason, that's 3 preseason games. Remember, the Broncos didn't play their starters in the 3rd preseason game last year.
Yeah, that's very true. I got to say hello to a couple people in the posse real quick. We got the amazing Kenny Kirkpatrick of the K&K Sports Show. Go check those guys out, coming in here and saying on Facebook, look at this amazing trio. Good evening, fellas. Well, man, the stepfather, nobody better, buddy. Appreciate you coming in here, spending a little bit of time with us. I know that you're always busy, trying to catch us on the fly sometimes at work, and you're amazing. You're amazing. Let alone every time I get to go on one of your shows, or you're on one of our shows, check out the amazing K&K Sports Show. Again, please, everybody. Speaking of, please, everybody, I think this is a great little time, a little break right now before we get into another subject to talk about the amazing Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets is your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices. They were once a nationwide company, but now they're in your backyard. That's right. Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming. That's the only place they're at. In fact, right now they're out at Cheyenne Frontier Days. They're out there they were out there for 10 full days. I know they're in the middle of it, I think, at this point. That being said, Cheyenne Frontier Days, you can check them out up there. You can check out all the amazing pieces they have. Also, by the way, silver, they have that as well. It's all sterling silver starting at $10, going all the way up to $2,000. When you're out at their shows, they take all major credit cards, guys. If you want to find them online, you head on over to Morgan Trinkets on Facebook, and over there they transact with PayPal, and every single transaction over $50 is shipped absolutely free as well. A huge selection. I'll go ahead and I'll put that link up there. They were at the show out at Cheyenne Days. They have a fantastic, beautiful booth. Pearl's going to be catching the shows on the fly after she has her big days out there. She said she's going to be listening. So shout out to you, Pearl. We love you very much. Check out Morgan Trinkets for all your Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices, guys. So, all right, guys. I wanted to get into this a little bit. I'll start off with Albert because I know that it seems like it's been forever since Albert's talked. You ready, Albert?
I am.
All right. You warming up your voice?
Oh
All
yeah.
right.
Woo!
Oh, there you go. Got Ric Flair in the house once again. No, I sent this list to you guys a little while back, and I wanted to try to get an idea of the importance, the needs that Bo Nix would have in order to truly succeed this year if he's named the starter. Trevor just talked about it, man. Broncos country wants it. We're all hoping for it. We're all kind of thinking it'll happen regardless. Bo Nix will eventually be the starter. But what is going to be most necessary for Bo Nix to succeed? I don't know why I'm stumbling. Out of these, and I wish I had time to do graphics, guys. I didn't have time. I really was thinking about this. So we got on the docket his O-line, his running game in his running backs, his tight ends we were just talking about, Lucas Kroll, Greg Dulcich, his wide receivers, his coaching, or Bo Nix himself. What are you putting on the top of the list, Albert?
What I put on top of the list, his offensive line is healthy, is strong, they can take care of it. He has 2 or 3 really great running backs in the backfield. So that is secure. Wide receivers, I think with the right receivers he has plenty of weapons. What he doesn't have is a stable tight end group. He should not be just a too offensive play gamer. It has to be 3 dimensions. It has to come from the wide receivers. It has to come from the running backs. Those 2 are secured. The tight ends. Those 2 tight ends, Dulcich and Krell, they have to step up big time and make it possible for Bo Nix to have that extra offense available. And I think if that is also secured, I think we have a really good shot to make the playoffs. If that is indeed the case.
I like that. Top. Go ahead, buddy.
For me, it is the tight ends. They have to step up big time.
Yeah. Nate Atkins also in that room as well. And do you think this is the position, Albert, since we're right here on your top need, or top group or piece that we Bo Nix needs in order to succeed, being the tight ends? Do you think this could be the position where we see somebody come from the outside in order to be that person, or is it going to be inside? Is it going to be Kroll or Dulcich?
I would not be surprised if they bring another New Orleans Saints in. I would not be surprised that one wide receiver, changing him into a wide receiving tight end. I think that still might happen. I'm not going to name names. Most of you already know who I'm talking about. But that is something that could happen.
Very good, man. It's interesting because we are in that mixed bag of, who is going to be the breakout guy. I was flashing some comments up there. Graham was saying, don't sleep on Troutman as well. It's just named after name, you know what I mean? But nobody is taking that lead. I'm going to head over to Trevor, man. I ran off that list. I can certainly do it again. Offensive line, running back, tight end, wide receiver, coaching, or Bo Nix himself. What is the most key important piece for Bo Nix to succeed out of those?
All of the above. I mean, there's not honestly, and that's just putting it mildly, putting it just short. All the above. It's not just one thing that he's going to need to succeed or the other. It's not just a few. It's all of the above. Everybody's going to need to be on their game. That's Sean Payton included. That's his guy. That's the guy he took in the first round of the draft, 12th overall. So he's going to need to be on his game as well. And again, so I mean, like running the football. I mean, that's kind of like number one and pretty high on my list, if not number one. They got to run the football better. I mean, it's just what it is. They, for whatever reason, last year they didn't run the football very well, and I know that. This is kind of why I've backtracked on the offensive line just a little bit. It's still one of this team's strongest positional group, but something's wrong with the running game. I don't know if it's the running backs just not seeing the field good enough in the gaps to be able to run the ball, or if the offensive line, they're just not getting enough gaps. I don't know what it is, but they got to run the football better. You can't run the football like you did last year with Russell Wilson. I'm not trying to sit here and just blame the running game, but you can't, and that's one of the reasons I don't just blame Russell Wilson for last year, because when the running game, part of when Russell Wilson succeeds, you got to run the football efficiently. And that was a big reason why he succeeded in Seattle with Marshawn Lynch. And here in Denver, he just hasn't had that running game. He didn't have it. I'm not making excuses for Russell Wilson. That's just what it is. So I think first and foremost, Bo Nix got to have got to run the football effectively and efficiently for him, in order to help him get where he needs to be. And then again, offensive line protection, clean pockets from the offensive line. You got to have that as well. I don't think that he's going to be able to survive if you're not able to protect him and protect him well. And I think this offensive line will do so, in my opinion. And then it's wide receivers and tight end getting open, running clean, sharp routes. We're talking about that with Marvin Mims. That's why I kind of bring that up. Marvin Mims has got to be able to run his routes, a lot better. He's got to be able to finish those routes. So you have to be able to do that at a high level. And these guys got to be able to get open. Remember, we kind of talked about it last year with Russell Wilson. Is why are these guys getting open? Why is he holding the ball so long? And that might be part of it. Who knows? But I still think that that's got to be a part of it as well. So just a mixture of different things and all of the above, like what you said and just mentioned, Keith, that's going to be able to help Bo Nix be successful as possible. And I think also just putting him in there, because I don't think that he's going to learn much more just sitting on the sidelines. I think to be able to maximize Bo Nix's potential and see what he has, he's got to see the field first and foremost for me.
I'll agree with you there. I've kind of come around to that mindset and that way of thinking, mainly just because of who Bo Nix is. I just got done talking about his career. We're not talking about, all of a sudden I'm blanking the name, guy that was selected by the San Francisco 49ers and now is a Cowboy quarterback. Who am I thinking of, Trevor?
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance. There, Albert with it. Trey Lance. He's not a Trey Lance that doesn't have the experience. Didn't is certainly no. We're talking about Bo Nix, who has done it all and kind of seen it all. He's ready. If there's a time that he's ready, it's now. It's not going to come any better with another year. So especially with the quarterback room that I think that he's currently in. Again, good friends over at K&K Sports Show. I'm going to bring up Kenny's thoughts on here, but Kurt Valente is like, he's not sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, guys. What are we talking about here? Go ahead and get him out there. Good point there. Excuse me, my root beer is getting to me. I shouldn't have had a root beer. But Kenny's coming in and saying offensive line, but tight ends would be second security blanket. I agree with Dutchie. Rick Diaz has been coming in here. He says, do you remember when we were bragging about the Baltimore and their quarterback, the MVP? They were knocked out in the first round. What a big blow. Yeah, that was it's amazing how you can seem like you're doing everything right and all of a sudden it changes. That's the beauty, I think, of the NFL. It's not a 5-game series, it's not a 7-game series. You don't get another chance. You better go out there, you better lay it out all on the line. And sometimes things happen and game plans happen or an injury happens or you name it. The fumble goes the wrong direction, just changes the momentum of a game. Who knows? Speaking of Kurt Valente, boys, relaxing on vacay. Bo Nix era starts this week. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. This guy is the guy who's ready, who has been ready from the get for Bo Nix to be out there taking the field. Just had to give a big shout out to Kurt Valente, K&K Sports Show. Love those guys. Cousins on the East Coast. You got to check them out. A plethora of shows over on the K&K Sports Show. I know they got something for you. I guarantee it. If not, come back. Talk to me. All right? We'll talk. We'll figure it out. Ernie May says, believe in Bo Nix. He will be the third greatest quarterback in Broncos history. Oh, that's ranking right up there. We'll have to do a best quarterbacks of all time list and figure out who the top 5 is in order at some point, maybe. I like that idea. All right. I'm just searching through the comments, make sure I'm not missing anything. I do want to say what's up to D-Rock. He's coming in and saying, sup, fellas, giving us that mile-high salute. Love D-Rock coming in here, supporting the show. Appreciate it so much. I know that a couple of people brought it up. Michael Ronquillo brought it up first, and then Graham brought it up. I'm going to see Graham's I see really quick. He says, completely unrelated, but did you guys see that Michael Gallup, Las Vegas Raiders, just retired today? Like I said, Michael Ronquillo beat him to the punch just a little bit. There it is, with the same news. But that's kind of surprising. Here's a guy that not that long ago was with the Cowboys and really was a key piece of what they were able to do offensively. I think another one that I know that we haven't talked about on this show, we can hit this really quick, gentlemen. Shaq Barrett. Barrett decided to retire. I remember Albert posted that up in our little private message board. Albert, Shaq Barrett, how will you remember Shaq Barrett and what he did for the Broncos and what could have been?
He was part of that. One of the best defenses I think the Broncos ever had with Von Miller in the no-fly zone. Yeah, that was a really, really good defense, and Shaq Barrett was part of it. I still felt sad that he left because the moment he went to a different team, I think his career really got off to a next level. He was one of the best defensive players for the Bucks. So, yeah, we should have kept Shaq, like Paul Shadow says. But yeah, we had too many players in that position, and somebody had to go.
Yeah, we're not to the same level of talent, but might be in the similar position this season as well, where we have too many players, and one might just have to go. I don't think we're talking about Bradley Chubb and Von Miller type of talent as of right now that we've seen on the field. But that being said, there might have to be some decisions as well. Trevor, your thoughts on Shaq Barrett, man?
Yeah, I mean, I love Shaq Barrett. Such a great story. You know, I really feel for him losing his little girl. I think that kind of affected him a little bit as well. Again, I'm not trying to sit here and speak for him. I just think that this game of football just mentally and physically takes its toll on you eventually. You know, and Shaq Barrett, I mean, again, you're not getting any younger. So, you know, I feel for him, and I really applaud him for having the career he had. I remember he came out of CSU, he was fantastic. You know, I really pushed for him and love when he was with the Broncos. I wish they could have kept him around as well, Dutchie. That was something that the Broncos, I think, wish if they could have that back, they would have done that. You know, I do understand what they were trying to do, trying to get Shane Ray some playing time in there as well and let him take over. But usually that's kind of how teams operate. More from, you know, most importantly is they go after, they want to get the guys out there that they've invested in, and they just didn't invest enough in a Shaq Barrett. And they had a first-round pick in Shane Ray, so they invested highly in that. They wanted to give him playing time. Unfortunately, just never worked out with Shaq Barrett. But I think he did a great job. We won a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. You know, made some big money, a couple Pro Bowls. I mean, again, a great career for him, and I wish him nothing but the best in whatever he does after football. And just nothing but love for Shaq Barrett, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wanted to jump back to the conversation we were just having a little bit. Scott did jump in. He says, kind of almost an agreement with Trevor, I feel. He's like, it's a puzzle. The better the O-line, the better the run game, opens up the play action, and the pass plays. You know, tight ends start looking good because the wide receivers are opening up space, and you know, I get it. It is a Pandora's box type of question. For me, you know, I really think it's going to depend a lot on the coaching. Is where I was kind of leading within this. Maybe Bo Nix. You know what I mean? Bo Nix has got to be that guy. He's got to go in there. He's got to want to. He's got to be determined. He's got to have, you know, put that knowledge and that big brain that he has on top of his head to good use and get this, man. The NFL playbooks are no joke, and it's a big jump to go from college to the NFL for a lot of people. But quarterbacks hopefully are that place that have that ability. They've been having to learn probably more than any other position their entire lives to get to this point. So they're usually in the best spot to try to do it in the NFL. But these coaches, man, we talked about it even today, man, this evening, you know, him getting the opportunity, when he gets the opportunity, when he's named the starter, all of this type of stuff is coaching type of stuff that, you know, needs to be done right. Because you can mess up a player really quick by screwing around with that. Drew Lock, I still feel, could have been a much better quality, polished product, even though hats off to Drew Lock. Third contract, man. Third contract. Not a lot of quarterbacks go out there and get their third contract. Drew Lock's out there doing it. I think he's going to let it loose and compete well up there in New York this year. But that being said, you know, we need to make sure that Bo Nix doesn't become a Drew Lock either. I don't need that to happen. I don't want that to happen. So for me, that coaching piece is really key for me. You can always plug another offensive line in, find a different tight end, get a better wide receiver. But the coaching piece of Bo Nix is huge, So I think I'm not nervous. I'm not scared. I think that if there's I don't know if there's a better coaching staff out there. I know that Sean Payton's ranked 18th on some random list and stuff like that. But, you know, honestly, the coaching staff is key. It's good. It's quality. I think he's in a good opportunity. Let's just put it that way. I think he's in a good opportunity to succeed. And like one of our first people said, man, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for what's happening in Broncos country. Go ahead, buddy.
No, I was going to say really quickly, the difference between the Bo Nix and Drew Lock thing, of course, is Denver's now they are much more invested in Bo Nix than they were in Drew Lock, as Bo Nix was a first-round pick. Drew Lock wasn't. Yeah. He's a second-round pick. And I think, again, how can you trust – if this don't work with Bo Nix, how can you trust Sean Payton to pick another quarterback in the draft or get another quarterback, you know, that's a rookie? He's going to have to go after – be aggressive and go after a proven quarterback if he sticks around. So, I mean, a lot is tied to Sean Payton and Bo Nix. That is his guy through and through, and it's got to work. It has to work. And Sean Payton, to be fair, he's never developed a first-round quarterback before, and he's never taken one. So there's so many. I don't mean to sit here and dump on. Well, there's more unknowns with this team, but I think it's you have to be determined what Sean Payton can do with a young quarterback and just another quarterback in general that's other than Drew Brees. Yeah, I know he had success with Teddy Bridgewater. That was a short sample size. And Jameis Winston and whatnot, but short sample size. Need to see a full season of it, and need to see more of it before we completely buy into Sean Payton. And so I'm not saying he's not a good offensive mind. He is, absolutely. But I think that there's more to be determined, I think, with Sean Payton in his coaching career going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's like a second career, quite honestly. Yeah. I mean, it's a second team. It's a second career. It's a whole different experience. I mean, let's face it, New Orleans was something different, something special, especially with everything that was going on at that time with Hurricane Katrina, you name it. Graham's coming in and saying Nix will be the best quarterback we've ever drafted, wink, wink. Of course, John Elway we didn't draft as well. Obviously, Peyton Manning we didn't draft. Hopefully, most people know that in Broncos country at this point, but figured I'd point that out. Got to get to a Michael Ronquillo comment because he's always usually has good ones. He says, I was disappointed the Broncos traded away Von Miller. He should have finished his NFL career with the Broncos. Yeah, that was rough. I wasn't hating too bad. I understood it. It made sense for all parties. I think, honestly, Von Miller, in retrospect, is pretty appreciative that he got that opportunity to go out there and get a Super Bowl, you know what I mean, with another team, you know what I mean, and make that run and not just be tied to the Broncos and where they're at. Graham said, Shane Ray, what a disappointment. Yeah, I had higher thoughts for Shane Ray as well. All right, gentlemen. I had one last question on the docket. Albert, unless you're seeing something, you have something, buddy. Hopefully I didn't miss anything.
Mike, Albert.
I was looking up Sean's history as a head coach. He became head coach of the New Orleans Saints in 2006, and then he got Drew Brees. He never had to draft a QB.
No, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So he never had to. So that's what I was looking up. Did he ever have to draft one? No, he never, because his entire career with the Saints, he had Drew Brees. So
it's kind of like if you had a guy named John Elway your entire career. It's like, well, you never drafted a great quarterback.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we had John Elway. I mean, I wasn't worried about my quarterback. Hopefully, that wasn't the issue.
Well, he didn't draft a quarterback in the first round per se, but he did draft quarterbacks in the other rounds, but it wasn't first round.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, like I said, I had one last question. We'll wrap it up with this one, and then we'll get out of there. As I'm reading this, kind of a disappointing way to round up. We'll talk about something a little bit hyped up before we get out of here. But I wanted your guys' thoughts, man. This training camp, we brought in a lot of rookies. We brought in some names as free agents, brought them in here. And that means there's too many people in order to make a 53-man roster. So simple as this. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts, and I'd love to get the Posse's thoughts on this as well. What's the biggest name the Broncos country is used to, knows, that doesn't make the 53-man roster? Trevor, I haven't went to you first in a while. Who do you think doesn't make this roster that's, we know, we expect maybe? We certainly maybe saw him in the past. What are you thinking, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the two guys that, in particular that are new to the team, but I just don't think it's going to be good enough to make this roster, in my opinion, because I think there's other players that will. I don't think this roster is also in a state where you can expect too many big names to not be on this roster. And again, it's just so many unknowns. We'll see what training camp has to offer. I see some people putting Tim Patrick out there. Well, we shall see. Does that mean Troy Franklin steps up? What does some of these other wide receivers step up that we're not expecting to? I know Javonte Williams, been a lot of talk about him not be on this roster. Well, they do have a second-round pick invested into him, so I don't know if Javonte is going to get cut. I'm not so sure about that. So for me, I have two names that I'm kind of pondering here, and that's Cody Barton and Sam Mustipher. Those are two names in particular that I have that I don't know will make this roster. Cody Barton, probably one of the bigger names. And the reason I say Cody Barton is because I think Jonas Griffith will be that guy that pushes ahead of him. And I wouldn't, really rule out Justin Strnad. Maybe he's a guy that is going to start getting in the mix a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. And then I wouldn't be surprised if Denver also picked up another inside linebacker. I just don't know if Cody Barton's going to be the guy that is going to be able to do enough to make this roster, in my opinion, and let alone start. I think Jonas Griffith will start. And then Sam Mustipher, I have him because I think that Alex Forsyth will emerge, I think, as a starting center. And that's best scenario for the Broncos, of course. And I just Mustipher just hasn't had a very good past career. And I just don't know that's worth just keeping him on this roster. You have other depth guys on this roster that you can keep around. I don't know that you need to keep Mustipher. If Forsyth goes down, you have Wattenberg who can take over. You have Pete on this roster. You have other offensive linemen in depth behind that you can keep. I don't think you have to keep three centers, and I don't think they will. One Mustipher, Forsyth and Wattenberg. So if you keep Wattenberg, either you keep him at guard or center, whatever. But he can still play center. So those are the two names that I have. I don't expect too many big names to not make this roster, but it's hard to kind of pinpoint that down right now of who in particular big name is that wouldn't make this roster.
Yeah, I'm going to circle back. I noticed that Phil, because I was a lot of different places, Phil's dropped some stars. I'll get to a few thoughts that he had as well, but I want to get over to Albert's thoughts. Do you have a thought? I did have the fourth horseman has arrived and has been kind of chiming in. He was thinking, and I see if I can line it up and find it here real quick, but he was thinking that it would be Tim Patrick, maybe Javonte Williams. I'll get that up on the screen here in just a second. What are your thoughts, Albert?
Yeah, Jody have been thinking that Williams might go to the Dallas Cowboys. I'm thinking different. Jonas Griffith. He might be one. He might be one that is not see the 53-man roster. He might be on the practice squad if he gets there, but Jonas Griffith, he might not make it the 53-man. I would really like to see Patrick come back in as a wide receiver, and Sutton, that is still up in the air as well because he is not happy. But yeah, Jonas Griffith could be one of them odd men out.
Very good. Trevor was the odd man out there for a second. Dropped out of his cam, but he's back. Yeah, for me, I think it's going to be right up there. I'm going to have to agree. I'm going to think Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick might be the name for me. As much as I love Tim Patrick, even we had someone saying they're from San Diego, so they love Tim Patrick as well. Paul is coming in there saying that. I love Tim Patrick, man, but he's been having a hard road back. He can't have one setback, and he might not make the 53. Simple as that. One setback in this training camp, and he doesn't make the 53. He's already went through 2 years of injuries. He can't be down for a couple of weeks during training camp, working his way back on the side field and stuff like that. It's these spots are too valuable, and too many opportunities that went by. So I could definitely see a Tim Patrick in that regard. And I feel for you, Paul, because I'm a big Tim Patrick as well. That being said, like I said, I wanted to get back to Phil. He dropped some stars on I was trying to find them both. I can only find one so far as what I can bring on the screen. But so I'll hit this one first. He says, if Bo Nix fails, who gets fired then? He's going the opposite side. Everything that he needs to succeed, all these different position groups in the whole 9 yards. But if Bo Nix if Nix fails, who gets fired in that position? What are your thoughts, Albert?
I do know who's going to be fired up. All defense. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I don't think. What is a fail? Is it a fail like Zach Wilson with the Jets? Is that a fail? If he only has 5 win games, I think the only time when Bo Nix would really be failing is that he indeed is really having a season like Zach Wilson had with the Jets, not being able to accomplish anything, even although with the support that he has here with the Broncos, I think that would be a fail. But if it is a 5-12 or a 6-11, I don't think it will be considered a fail if he is playing the best way he can. So when is it a fail? That
Very
is my
good.
question.
Phil, when's it a fail? That's the question. What does a failure look like, and when is it bad enough that you think that maybe someone should get fired? How bad would Bo Nix have to perform? I guess you could say, or what would he have to look like? Trevor, I want your thoughts on this as well. If Nix fails, who gets fired?
Yeah. First and foremost, I think you got to give Nix at least 2 years. I know Graham says 3. I actually think 2. That's at the end of the second year, you really are going to have to determine if Bo Nix is your guy. And I think you'll get a large enough sample size that's in place that you can determine if he's a guy or not. But if he's not, and again, I like what Albert was saying, determine what fail is. Does that mean he doesn't belong? If he doesn't belong, and you can clearly see that, or he's just going to be a backup, and you want something better. I mean, Sean Payton's got to be one of the first guys that are possibly could be on the hot seat. Very much so. I don't want to say fire per se, but I mean that's very possible because I just said it. How can you trust him to find another quarterback if Bo Nix fails? It just this team. That's the last thing this team can do is fail with Bo Nix. You chose to take Bo Nix 12th overall. You chose not to trade up in the draft. You chose not to sign one of those quarterbacks in free agency to big money. So I think if Bo Nix fails, Sean Payton, I think it has to be the forefront of that. Maybe he's out the door. George Payton probably as well. I don't like sitting here saying, well, get guys losing their jobs. But I think so much rides upon Bo Nix succeeding, especially with Sean Payton, because he's known as quote unquote the quarterback guru. Yet to be determined, in my opinion. But I think Sean Payton would be the guy that would be on the hot seat, very much so, if not fired, if Bo Nix did not pan out and just look horrible out there.
I'll answer your question, Phil, and 2 different ways. A, I don't expect it. Don't expect Bo Nix to fail. Don't expect him to look like a failure. Don't expect anything close enough that would really have the fan base, have people internally, externally fired up to have someone be fired. Simple as that. Secondly, I don't know how bad he would have to fail for it really to hit the fan. I mean, we just saw, top picks, from last year kind of fail, and most people are in place still, rolling it forward. Again, I think that once you've kind of built this together and it's like, hey, this is Sean Payton's guy, why are you going to get rid of Sean Payton? Are you giving up on Bo Nix all at the same time? I mean, it would have to be an epic failure if you're giving up on your number 12 pick. I don't know what that would even look like. You know what I mean? So, again, not expecting it whatsoever. And I don't think that anything would happen, quite honestly, because I'm with Albert. Outside of maybe 5 wins, 4 wins, something like that, if that's the worst it's going to be, I think most of it all just rolls forward. You won't see any major changes, any major shakeups.
No, and that's a good point, Keith. I guess my thing is not win totals. For me, it's the eye test, and we say that a lot. If Bo Nix over 2 years, let's say after 2 years, that's usually how much time quarterbacks will get. After 2 years, if Bo Nix looks like he doesn't belong, can you trust Sean Payton? This is a question we're going to have to ask ourselves if that happens again. I'm not saying that that's going to happen because I think Bo Nix has a high floor, and it's just yet to be determined where his ceiling's at. But if that happens, can you trust Sean Payton to go out and find you another quarterback and put him in place? That's the question you have to ask yourself, and ownership's going to have to ask themselves after eating $85 million with Russell Wilson and spending a top draft pick on a quarterback.
Yeah. No, 2 years, 3 years, we're talking about something different. I just don't see any way that, after this year, after the dead cap hits, after the position that we know that this team is in, that all of a sudden you're like, hey, man, obviously Bo Nix is just a failure, and this whole coaching staff is no, you went. Keep in mind how far we went backwards, I guess, is the big thing, man. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I never want to. I hate ending podcasts with ideas and thoughts like, failures and firings and stuff like that. So Albert's pointing his finger. That means he's got something. What do you got, Albert?
I don't think that Sean Payton easily sees failures. He even gives Zach Wilson a chance again. I don't think that he sees a failure in Zach Wilson, that he can redeem Zach Wilson. and that's why he got him. Zach Wilson has been in the league now 2 years,
Yeah.
and under really bad management with the Jets, and hopefully, and we might see that Zach Wilson will return on the field at some point as the backup for Bo Nix, and that is what the entire thing with Sean Payton is. He sees more in a player, and he likes to give second chances, and that's why I don't think that Bo Nix is going to be a failure, because otherwise he wouldn't have drafted him.
Yeah, one of the key lines that Sean Payton took over at the Broncos, I remember just retaining in this thick skull of mine, was him saying, now I'm all of a sudden I'm forgetting, but he was he was saying about his coaches, don't come to me and tell me what he can't do. Tell me what he can do. Don't just come up here and tell me this guy can't do this guy can't do that. This guy, don't. I want you telling me what he can do. You know what I mean? And I think that speaks to what you're talking about, Albert, and not seeing the failures, seeing what could be success, and possibly rejuvenating. He's certainly rejuvenated enough quarterback careers, at least for a short term. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That being said, we do got to wrap it up, guys. We got to get out of here. We're at an hour. I'm fired up about these Broncos. I know that we went down like kind of a dark path, man, but training camp is just around the corner. It's Friday, man. We're going to have a Friday show. Training camp's going to be on Friday. It's going to be kick butt. I hope Sean is in a much better mood after he sees all these guys in pads. And it's on. I know that Sean doesn't think there's any bulletin board material necessarily out there with all these ranking, but I'm telling you, not every single player is going to be on that same page. I think that there's guys going to be fired up to go in there, and I'm going to be fired up. I'm going to be fired to be back here on Friday. But we're going to get out of here. I'm going to have everyone say goodbye, say goodnight. Man, heck of a show. I really appreciate everybody that's been jumping in here. But I got to say, I appreciate Albert. So I'm going to have him go first. Not that I don't appreciate Trevor. You'll be second. Don't worry, buddy.
So, yeah, the problem with Sean Payton was those journalists did not roll with his playbook. And that's when you get grumpy. And maybe a little bit out of the habit of having a good conversation. And that costs a little bit training as well. Okay, I want to thank everybody who was in the chat today. It was excellent again, and it makes every time it makes our lives so much easier. Thank you. And that goes for Scott, Ernie, Michael, Roy, Phil, Patrick, Graham, Big E, Bronco, Paul Shatter, Clayton, Kenny, Michelle, Rick, Kurt, D-Rock, Jody. And then I think we had a new one in the system as well. And so thank you everybody who was in here. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Love the interaction. Love the posse. Love hanging out with my bros on the screen as well. And that includes Trevor. I don't know. I always feel like I segue wild and weird and awkward. But Trevor, man, you're much appreciated as well, man. Say goodnight to everybody in the posse. Say goodnight to Broncos country.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody, again, in our posse for being fantastic. We love talking Broncos with you guys and just breaking everything down. No matter what, if it's good or bad, we'll all get through it, and we'll all get through it together. That's what matters. We're all Broncos country in the end. So I just really want to appreciate everybody tonight for joining in and for sending stars. Just continue to show appreciation for what we do. We couldn't do it without you. We do it for you. So just can't thank you guys enough, and thank my amazing co-host tonight as well. Just really appreciate you guys so much. And training camp's here, man. Football season's here. It feels like we were just talking the other day. Training camp's gonna be here pretty quickly, just right around the corner. And it's I know it kind of seems like a drag at times. In between times between mini camp and training camp, but I'm glad it's here. And we're here for it. And just can't wait to break it all down. And some more tidbits definitely to be coming, I think, for Sean Payton. I don't think we seen the last bit of him being grumpy. That's just Sean Payton, I think, for you, at times. And I can certainly understand that, the NFL's a grind for sure. So I can understand it, but just want to thank everybody tonight for everything you guys do for us. And we'll be ready to break it all down on Friday night. And I appreciate you guys.
Yeah. You were talking, man, not enough time. Or, it seems like there's this time, this break in between. And all of a sudden there's not enough time, man. All of a sudden it goes so quick. it's kind of like our shows, man. We come on the air every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:15 p.m. Denver Bronco Roundup, man. And I tell you what, it's just sometimes it seems like it's like, oh, Friday, I gotta wait till Friday, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh my goodness, Friday's here or Tuesday's here. It's always fantastic jumping in here, having fantastic conversations. I'm leaving Michael's comment up because he was the last one to drop stars this evening, of many that dropped stars this evening. But he's saying, great show tonight, Keith, Albert, and Trevor, giving us those orange and blue hearts, clapping it up big time for us. We appreciate Michael Ronquillo as well. We appreciate all the star givers. We appreciate all the comments. We appreciate all the questions. And we didn't even get to near enough of them. And I apologize, everybody, man. I was trying to keep up in the queue. Wasn't able to do it. We were trying to keep up with the conversation. Sometimes I had trouble with that. But we had a fantastic night. Appreciate you guys. By the way, RockyMountainSN.com. You can go out there. You can check out our fantastic webpage. Rocky Mountain Sports Network on YouTube, Rocky Mountain Sports Network on Facebook, Denver Bronco Roundup as well over there on Facebook. We'd appreciate a like, a share, and a subscribe. Even more importantly, to me, our fantastic sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. Make sure you search them out on Facebook for all your Southwest jewelry, pottery, and estate gold at wholesale prices. You'll love it. Fantastic pieces, guys. Man, I can't wait to get back on here, but we do got to get out of here. With that being said, going to do a DBR styles. Make sure you keep your boot in the stirrups. Boots, keep both boots in the stirrups. Keep your guns in your holsters. And keep the Broncos in your hearts. Until next time, we're out of here. Have a great night, everybody.